Hello, hello. Is this my voice getting picked up? Yes, it is. Awesome. Sweet. Well, hi. It has been way too long since the last time I did a stream, but the weather here has been obscenely wet, to the point that I can't really stream because it's been raining so much. The network is pretty much completely pooped at all times. So, hoping that will smooth out a little bit, because it's already rained out pretty much everything it could. So I guess we'll just see. Getting a couple things cleaned up real quick. Then we'll get started. So I changed the title at the last minute because I realized I was 4 days behind on Smaugust. So I was already planning on kind of cheating for Smaugust anyway, so I'm going to expand that cheating even further. So what I'll be doing is I will be using Smaugust as a way to draw my own characters that aren't technically dragons, but they kind of fit the bill a little bit. So I guess we'll see how that works. I'm not gonna follow a prompt list for the first 4 just because I don't want to find one right now. But eventually I'll probably go with the subjectively prompt list. Just I go with that one every year, and it's pretty dang solid. So yeah, the schedule for today, we're gonna be drawing for 45 minutes, an hour, and then we'll be switching to a game. In the thumbnail I have Noita, which is a very good game that I think everyone should play. But I also have a couple other games. I've got a game that's in beta that I'd love to show y'all. It's really fun. All sorts of things. Yeah, the stream will probably go about 2-ish hours, maybe. Hopefully I can keep my streamer voice nice and smooth the whole time so that it's not painful to listen to me. Yeah, we shall see. I think to start, I don't know what I'll do to start, honestly, but it'll be something. Let's just get the pen down. I think I'm gonna go straight to ink, because I feel like I have been unfaithful to my roots lately. I'm a naturally... I realize my mic is really far from my face right now. Apologies if y'all couldn't hear me. This should probably be a little better. I'm natively an ink artist, though. That's always what I've been from a fairly young age. So it's weird, with digital painting, I've never really gone for a ink quote-unquote vibe, really. It's gone just for as rainbow and colorful as I could possibly make it, when really that's not how I usually draw. Most of my sketchbooks and sketches are just plain and simple, ink. I don't even really use pencils or charcoal or anything like that. And it works for me. I think it is a valuable skill set for sure to be able to draw in just ink, but the color with digital is awesome, and I've really learned a lot about color through digital that's allowed me to branch into real colorful mediums, such as I don't know if any of y'all follow me on Instagram, but I've got the paint pen artwork I've posted on there, and a lot of my 3D stuff and sculptures. That all kind of requires a good amount of painting and color know-how that I really did not have for a long time. So it's been very valuable to have those skills. Today, what I'm drawing right now is a pike. I think I've spoken about these before, but they are in my high fantasy world. There's a few different races of sentient being that all kind of did their own thing on this pretty dang massive planet. And these are the pike, which are gigantic heron people. Got the skin. I don't know if y'all have ever seen a king vulture, but they've got skin kind of like a king vulture, where it's got all these folds and ridges and stuff. And they're... I'm not sure where I'd place them phylogenetically, if I get to be a nerd real quick. But they're toothed and handed birds. They don't have wings. They're more like a dinosaur, which is why I'm taking that excuse to draw them for Smaugust, because dinosaurs are pretty much dragons. So I get to cheat as much as I want there. But yeah, they're island dwellers. They live on this little archipelago that's far away from the other land masses, such so that the other races pretty much consider them myth. Like, they've each got legends about so-called, you know, big birds in the ocean, or dragons, or it's all different. All the different dragon legends and phoenix legends and stuff, or their equivalents, come from the pike. Just ancient connections. Excuse me. So they kind of live on their own, away from world contact, but they want to contact the world. It's not a intentional hermiting. They're just blocked off due to a very tumultuous ocean on this planet, which has prevented many of the races from interacting or really knowing about each other for a very long time. The planet's about the size of Earth, but it's got a little bit more ocean, more like 80%, as opposed to 70 like ours. So it's just a little bit harder to connect with the other races, and they've got such vastly different environments that they hail from that it's also kind of hard to cater to each other's needs if they ever did meet, you know. But yeah, the pike, they are probably the most culturally magical people. There is magic in this world that I believe I've talked about before. They're the most in tune with it, if that makes sense. Like, their art form is shape-shifting. It's not complete, like, magical transformation shape-shifting. It's a very, like, re-knitting your bones to kind of be shaped like something else. So they usually keep their colors and stuff, but they can change color. But this skill, it's called otatomy, which is from the Malayan word for, or Malaysian, sorry, word for muscle, because their whole place is based off of the Malaysian archipelago. I know, very creative. But it used to be called flesh casting, but then I decided reasonably that flesh casting sounds pretty nasty. So I changed it, and I'm really glad I did. There are a couple different groups of pike. This right here is Clan Aunun, and I'm going to be drawing all three of them so you'll get to see them. They are the fishers and hunters and, I guess, military, because the archipelago, all the islands are very close together. It's a recently sunken mountain range, essentially. So it was just a small island nation with a bunch of peaks, and it sunk. So there's not a lot of depth between many of the places, to the point that you can actually wade with a 10-foot pole across the ocean to other islands in many places, which is pretty cool. It's a little shelter from the storm surrounding them. But yeah, the Aonun are more, they're inspired by herons, if you couldn't tell by the shape. And they are kind of the underdog. The main character of the story that it takes place in this world is from Clan Aonun. But they're generally more skilled at their magic than the other clans are, which is obviously very beneficial for hunting and everything if you can heal and rebuild yourself on the fly like that. Pike, I suppose this is important to share, do not have beaks. They have teeth and have kind of convergently evolved a beak-like structure with the teeth. So they're in all their incisors and then their canines. Let's see, it's just a little, this is the lip, and their canines in here cross like that, and then it goes to more normal dentition. And obviously with birds, they don't have the exact same dentition pattern as a mammal does, so canines and incisors and all that stuff, that's not perfectly analogous, but it's close enough. Enough to get the idea across. So yeah, the Aonun are kind of, I'm not gonna say abused, but they're mistreated by by the other two clans, primarily one of them, because they're a little bit smaller. They're about 8 to 9 feet tall on average, so the dude would stand about here. And they're not quite as stocky, they're a bit lighter, but they're built for hunting, so they tend to have much leaner builds, much stockier limbs than the others, which is part of what makes them so much shorter. But also less air sacs, so they're heavier than their kin, despite being shorter. They got more dense muscle, like an ostrich, compared to like a secretary bird. They're both pretty long-legged, ground-dwelling birds, but one of them's just super specialized for it. They've all got a mane, which I guess is just their equivalent of hair. It comes from the back of their head, wraps up and around, up to under the jaw. And then comes up and kind of encircles the head, so you don't actually see the full depth of their skull normally. It's normally covered by that mane, and it's usually kind of a solid color. Some of them can have speckles or like flecks of other colors in their mane, but it's usually a solid color that is found elsewhere in their body, like on their arms and legs and stuff. Primary for Aonun is, let me just sketch it, this kind of orangey reddy family. Some of them can sometimes be more of a burgundy, darker color like that. It's generally around there. Because most of the things that they hunt can't see red, so it doesn't really matter. Their hands is, that's one thing I'm still working on a little bit. Oops, wrong color. Because they've always kind of been just generalized, scaly, vaguely birdy reptile hands. But I mean, in most cases they end up looking a little bit too human for my taste. But generally I kind of imagine them like a bird of prey's talon. So kind of like a cup. And they've got this thumb that comes out from behind that I guess it could kind of stretch out like that. Like an early dinosaur claws or velociraptor claws. really the whole family of those dromaeosaurids, they've got these cool hands that are like, they're not very useful for a sentient race, which is part of why I haven't done it with them, but got these hands that are perpendicular to their little wrists, and the wrist is built in such a way that it can rotate out like a bird wing, but not really do a whole lot else. And they've got this really, usually pretty long middle finger, and their hand kind of presses together. Their fingers naturally press together like a little cup. And they've either got a longer thumb, or some of them have like a big hooked thumb, like that. So I haven't really liked that when I've implemented it, because that requires these guys to hold their arms like a dweebus, and it just kind of looks dumb. When they've got their arms out like a monkey, I like it a little bit better. So I'll finish on this guy. Pretty average birdie leg, you know. I haven't really figured out how I want to do their toes either, because I've tried to do kind of like an emu foot, which is very stocky, thick toes. But I haven't really decided if I like that or not. Especially because, like, they're from an archipelago, so they're going to be swimming a lot. Especially these guys, because they're the hunters for the community. So, I don't know. I've stuck with the kind of ratite foot, but I may change it at some point to more of like a, I don't know if you've ever seen a grebe foot, but they're super wacky. They've got, like, instead of webbing between their toes, like a duck, they've got, like, I forgot, there's a word for this, but they've got, like, individual little paddle extrusions on their feet, on each toe. I think they also have 4 toes. And so it's like a little bit less surface area than a duck foot, you know, and there's more places for it to go through. But at the same time, it does create more turbulence, which is usually good for a paddle. And also, they can actually walk on ground a little bit easier than a duck can, which is interesting. I don't think grebes specifically, but there's other birds that have the same type of foot that can. So, lots of things to consider. Their anatomy is constantly changing. I guess their feathers would go up like this, wouldn't they? Beauty. Okay. This guy's a little bit hunchbacked. Let's try and resolve that. And they've got a fleshy tail that's got the same kind of iridescent scales as the rest of their body. I'm going to color this guy real quick. And then we'll move on to the next one. Oops, wrong layer. They started, I came up with this race a long time ago, and they started as just pretty dang generic wyvern style dragons with feathers for some reason, and over time I became less and less comfortable with them just being lizards with feathers. Wanted more of a reason than just that. So I made them birds. They started off kind of like eagles, but they still have the hand claws, of course. And then eventually I just kind of made them their own thing. Didn't really give them a family to belong to in that sense. And I think I like that much better, just to kind of have them be their own thing, but take inspiration from other living creatures, which I think the best creature design always does. Generally got this kind of brownish gray. It varies from brownish gray to black, Usually it's more of a muted brownish color for them. And it's usually a solid color. Sometimes it can be a gradient, like a little bit of a fade in the older members of the species. It'll just kind of fade to a darker, more desaturated color towards the tail. They got these big fluffy undersides that are just very cozy. Like a lot of birds, like underneath the chickens like that, you know? Usually their head's darker too. Their skin is almost always the same kind of cyan, true blue, iridescent color, which is actually shockingly common in real-world birds too. Parrots, cranes, all sorts of stuff, birds of paradise. It's a very common bird trait in the real world. Pretty cool. But the pike also have it, and it's just on all of their exposed skin. Whoops. Their exposed skin has this kind of sheen to it. And in colder conditions than their tropical island home, it tends to be a little muted, just because their skin's all tightened. But in their warm tropical island, I didn't draw lines on this hand, but that's okay. On their warm tropical island, it's very neon, and it doesn't really serve a modern purpose, just because they're a civilized society now, but it's generally a gauge of attractiveness, you know? But it's subjective, culturally, which is cool. So, like, someone might, a specific individual might prefer more muted colors over the super neon colors, and they might find a mate that has those more muted colors. So it's cool what happens to a species once it becomes a society, because selective pressures like that change, you know? And they've got the teeth, it's not just bare tooth, they've got a keratin sheath, which is funny, because it's almost like they re-evolved a beak, in a way. Kind of. But there's still very much teeth, they just got a little bit of sometimes a little bit of a color to them. Some spots and stuff, because it's a keratinous sheath that protects them and helps the teeth to recover from damage and stuff. But it also, Jennifer Barger Music, hey, thanks for joining. The keratinous sheath can also be kind of carved into, which is cool. So they do lots of stuff, like they do piercings obviously in their skin, but they also do carvings on their keratin that are often paired with piercings or metal studs or other cool stuff like that you can implant into the keratin without damaging the body. So there's lots of cool things going on. But that is the Aonun pikes. Okay, I don't think I missed any details on that. So that's an Aonun. His head's a little huge, but let me see if I can fix that. Sometimes it's as simple as just resizing. And it was just as simple as resizing. Oh, gotta love it. The neck even still lines up. That's great. There we go. Perfect. So, that's Aonun. Now I suppose we will go to number dos, which is Noban. So, the Noban they're probably the least figured out of all of them. They changed the most. They've been retconned and then re-included a couple times. They're kind of all over the place. But they're guess the best way to describe them would be like they're the gardeners of the species. Because the whole species operates as kind of like this... I don't know if you can call it. But they operate like an anthill almost. Not naturally, but their society has kind of become that way over time. So they operate kind of like an ant nest. And so each tribe is assigned different roles by this overarching leading class role that they assign to themselves, of course. Which is part of why I said these guys are underdogs, because they're just kind of given the job of hunter a long time ago by a different group. Let me make sure to make his head the right size this time. These guys might look a little front heavy, but most of their weight is in their hindquarters, because birds have air sacs throughout their bodies that keep them light. So, like, despite the fact he's 9 feet tall, this guy might only be 250 pounds. Just very reasonable, because a 6 foot tall human can easily be that much without even being overweight. So the Noban, they're a little different. They've got a very different head shape, almost more like a parrot or a dodo bird. Let me see if I can get it right. And their beak kind of comes out straight like that. Their eyes pretty high up on their head. And the reason they've got like these swirls all over them is because their skin naturally has the folds, of course, but it's also a little bit magically affected because, you know, they're shapeshifters, so they like to augment their bodies in different ways. But additionally, just the use of magic itself causes some changes to anatomy that affect little things like that. And it's like a non-magical pike would not have any natural swirls or anything, but usually they're exposed to it from a pretty young age, so they end up developing them all the same. So their lips aren't really mobile. So they've got these big fleshy lips, but they don't really use them to emote a whole lot. They use these little what am I saying? Pinnae? That's a bug thing. At least it sounds bug. They use these feathers right here to emote, primarily. They can move their brow a little bit, but most of their emotion comes from their pinnae and their mane, which can tense and flex and do all that stuff that you'd expect a mane to be able to do. I guess his head would probably come out back there. They're very smart people. They're also very religious people, which is kind of a fun idea, you know? You got this super spiritual group of people that is also solving all the world's problems through science and logic. Pretty cool. Totally original. Never seen anyone ever do that. There are some consistencies with their pattern, like this saddle over the front like this is a consistent racial trait. Or species trait. It wouldn't even be, I guess it would be a race, but it's a trait held throughout the entire species. Even the magic users, they've got the same kind of lumpy spot right there. Of course, they've got forward-facing eyes, so this section being dark just indicates that there's a divot for their eye to look through. Like that, which is a horrifying image to see, but they really are quite wide-headed from the front. Hard to kind of imagine them like that, though. Yeah, looks kind of like Chainsaw, or Hacksaw, or whatever the Saw creature. Is it just Saw? I think it's just Saw, the creature. Or the puppet, or whatever it is from the movie. So the Nobon, let's get back to them. They're a little bit taller and bigger in general than the Aonun. Let me actually write these, because it's Aonun. Nobon. I will write that after I finish the line work. They're a little shaggy. They've got, don't have the puffy frilly feathers like the Aonun do. So they're quite ragged looking often. Their manes often kind of part down over the sides of their face. Kind of spill down over their shoulders. We'll have to erase some of this because it's in the way. But because of that, it makes their necks look kind of stocky, even though they're, you know, quite long and can stretch out like that. Makes them look like they've already got their neck completely outstretched. Their body pattern, I guess we'll get to that when I start drawing it, but it's quite similar to the Aonun in many ways, but it's got a little bit more going on there. Excuse me. I guess I will do the feet the same way for now. Just for fantasy's sake, all of the different races have... I'm gonna go ahead and add some detail to these just because it's bothering me. Each of these races, divisions of the hike, have different colors, just to make it fun, you know. Like the idea that their tail is completely shaggy. There's no visible skin on it. It's all just shaggy feathers. I thought about doing that for the legs too, but that just looked kind of weird. I need to bring their little ankle down to match it with this guy. Guess that gives me an excuse to have a little more shagginess here, which is always good. There we go. That works. The shag just obscures so much of their body that they look weirdly uncanny, and his head is way too far forward. He's gonna fall over. So instead of moving the head, I'm going to move the head. Let's see what that does. Maybe rotate it back a little bit. I love digital art, man. This is so awesome. I can just like grab a piece and change it without having to worry about completely screwing it up. Real life, if you wanted to do this, you had to cut the piece out and then re-glue it down and be careful about drawing on it because it's going to be delicate, blah blah blah. Digital art, I can just kind of do it and it's done, which is pretty dang cool. So he just needs hands and then I can color him. The males and females, men and women, I guess they're sentient enough to be called men and women. They are, for the most part, they're pretty dang similar, except the women in this tuft right here, they have a brood patch. So I actually have another image of that. You know what, I actually don't feel like pulling it up, so let's just draw a little cartoon. So here's the lady. Pretty much the same in every other way. Little shoulder. But with this shaggy fluff right here, hidden inside of it is this kind of saggy, looks kind of like just a patch of saggy, wrinkly skin that is usually mostly covered by that. But when they have eggs, let's just illustrate it visually. This kind of inflates to kind of be an egg patch. It's a brood patch. A lot of real world birds have this, of course, but they also have it. It's a little bit more extreme because I thought it'd be fun to make it more extreme. More extremeness is always cool. So that inflates. It's kind of a secondary sexual characteristic while they are working. And over time, the brood patch will actually attach to the eggshell. So the egg kind of gets, let's just draw it, kind of half encased in the patch itself and suctioned on so that when the egg hatches, eventually, which is a much shorter turnaround than for humans, it's like 2 months of incubation. But when that egg hatches, it's almost like she's giving birth, but without most of the pain associated with it, which is pretty dang cool. So she gets to feel that closeness with her baby and speak to it all the time and hear its heartbeat and everything. So it's a pretty great system that they happen to have. Yeah, other than that, there's not really a big difference with males and females. Obviously, they can tell, but I mean, they could tell just by looking at each other, but for a human to identify, that'd be quite difficult without the brood patch. I mean, just like if you're trying to describe to a non-human creature how to tell a human female and a male apart, you would be out of luck because the differences are so minute that most other creatures wouldn't really get it. You know? They're so minor. It's like that with crows or damselfish, though, too. There's a lot of animals in the animal kingdom that are kind of like that, in that we as humans, whoops, wrong layer again. We as humans can't really tell them apart from each other, but they can. Like crows are big. There's a bunch of fish that do, and most pigeons are a big one too. And they tell each other apart with UV light. And so they've got UV reactive pigments on their feathers or scales that we cannot see because they only reflect UV light. But other members of said species can see that UV light, and so they're able to tell each other apart really easily, even though to us it's a bunch of black birds or a bunch of little blue fish. They can remember individuals who have slighted them in the past, or people they don't like, or people that they should avoid, and it's pretty cool. People, other animals that they should avoid. Really cool system. So I imagine the pike could probably do something like that too. They probably see UV a little bit and just richens up these colors on their faces. But I don't actually know. I haven't really explored that a whole lot. I think these guys, they're more of a fade, kind of in the other direction than the Aonuns are. They kind of fade up towards saturation, towards the head. And this is definitely stuff that I've thought of before, and I'm not coming up with it on the fly, because I never do that. So they fade up to kind of this reddish, pretty dang saturated heads. Head plumage. I suppose. Let's do it on their legs too, because that makes sense. And now the whole body's just the same darker gray color. But that works. Yeah, I like that quite a lot. Their arm feathers are a little less pronounced than others, but their body plumage is usually some form of green. That's most common for them. They're the gardeners and tenders of the earth of the pike. So they do a lot, if not all, of the farming within every society, and are quite well versed in like herbalism and other cool nature stuff. So they tend to be a little nature colored to reflect that. But that's natural. So it's kind of just a happenstance that they happen to be the ones who are culturally more aligned with nature and plants and stuff. But their pigmentation is naturally a little bit more variable. Running gamut. They can do most yellower shades of green, so like up towards... I'm just gonna do this because it looks nice, like shading, because I didn't shade the other one at all. But it can be kind of a light green, it can be this dark, it can be more like a, I don't know, forest green like this, very blue. There's one of the characters is kind of a turquoise color, which is pretty nice. There have been nearly blue ones before. That's about as blue as it gets, and that's about as yellow as it gets. So it's a pretty wide range, honestly. But it's determined by parentage, so over time I'll leave those up just like I did on that side. Over time they'll slowly develop the same colors as their parents with slight variations, just like all genetics. How long have we been up? Let me check my time here. Make sure I'm not scamming anyone. I'm gonna draw the Dagon, and I'm gonna count these as 1 and 2 of Smaugust because they're dinosaurs. So I shall cheat. And it doesn't matter. Because it's my Smaugust. Let's see. When did we start? Okay, we're coming up at just over 45 minutes now, so that's perfect. Very good pacing. This lets me... Yeah, perfect. Okay. Their skin color, I haven't super decided on that yet. I like the idea that it's more of a earthy kind of tones, like more actual flesh tones. but I guess we'll experiment live and see what we like. I'll do 3. So let's try kind of a, see, pinkish color. That could be something. I know I've experimented with purple before, so that'll be my next one. So there's pink. We're just doing real rough and dirty for this. Okay, pink looks like that. Let's do purple, because they are the closest relatives of Aunan, so it makes sense that they'd have a similar shade of skin. Maybe this kind of periwinkle tone with variability. So there's purple. Let's try a bit more saturated purple, maybe. That's just darker. That's just too dark. Here we go. Perfect, like a grapey purple. Okay. So I really like how that looks, but it's a little weird. I think it just needs to be a little less saturated and a little bit less dark. Yeah, I think that's it. I mean, I really do think that's it. I'll try one more. I can't really, I mean, unless I do green, because you'll see why. Yeah, no. They're purple. Purple and proud of it. Just clean this up a little bit. I think it's clean enough down everywhere else, right? Yeah, that's clean, more than clean enough for this purposes here. So I guess let's do their teeths. Which should be, oops, pretty simple. Just that same kind of yellowish color with the brownish tips and edges and everything. Little spots. Maybe they've got a little bit more spottiness going on. I'm loving this playlist, by the way. I've been doing the is that not painting? There we go. The no bone. Finished. So that is number 2 clan. You can see there. Let me make sure that these are actually the same height. They are! Wow, I eyeballed that. So they're a good bit taller. Another foot or 2 taller. More air in there, so they're only a little bit heavier by like 20 or 30 pounds, despite all the extra mass. Yeah, that is them. This arm's tripping me up. I think his arm is way too thin, so I'm gonna fix that real quick. Might not even, oops. Might not even necessarily have a bunch of muscle in there. But this arm is just pushed a little bit too far back, methinks. Let's see. Make sure it's nice and shaggy. I dig that. Yeah, that's better, I think. Okay, so final clan. That will be... I'm gonna move everything a little bit lower. It's tripping me out how high up on the page I drew that. Okay. This one will be the Dagon. These are the elite class, so to speak. So they're the ones who've kind of placed themselves in charge of everything. That's not the right shape. They're very manipulative I'm not going to say all of them are manipulative, but the leaders who put themselves in power over the rest of the world are quite manipulative in nature. And now the entire kite world is suffering from it. That is an ugly foot. I'm just going to draw lines for now. I'll get to a little bit more lore once we get into them. They got very short, kind of like Lego styles, unlike like these are reptilian wiggly tails, you know. But for the most part, they're not super flexible, more like a raptor. These are just fused bone, like a bird. So it's slightly flexible just at the joints of the cartilage, but they're not able to move it. More like a normal bird. They sit their tails up when they sit down and all that. These guys usually stick them up, but they'll wrap them around things and all that. But the most different part of these guys is their heads. And they've got a little bit longer necks too, but their heads are anomalous. Let's see what I can do about the shape here. They're very oviraptor coated. So they got this tall, it's not a crest, it's just their head is shaped weird because they're like pugs. Very short muzzles. I guess if you can call it that, a muzzle. That kind of makes sense to call it that. This tall cheekbone and all these spirals are a little bit more insane. And then this saddle over the front is the same as ever, but it doesn't extend down into the lip, like down into the dewlap like the others do. It stays right up here by the nose, or not really, the nose is right here. They got kind of a parakeet top nose because they're semi-aquatic by nature. Yeah, they've got this saddle just like normal. There's a little different just because they got a short face. Any one of these communities of animals can, not animals, communities of pike can interbreed with the others. There's no like damaging factors of that. It's just there are different people groups within a race that have been kind of manipulated to be more different than they really are. What is going on right there? So they're completely genetically compatible. There's a little bit more. It'd almost be like a Neanderthal or something, just another species, but they're not another species. They're just quite highly diverged. But as I'll probably show you all later, the humans in this world are also a bit like that, so not quite as homogeneous as they are here. Namely because we just didn't go through massive flooding or extinctions or anything. Or because they didn't, I mean. So, they still got the little pins. Their teeth are weird and diabolical because they go downwards, like big stupid buck teeth. And their other incisors aren't really perfectly lined up because of that change. Loving all this Robobot music. This is great. So that's how their beak is lined up. It's a little strange. Their teeth don't line up quite as well. With these guys, I'm drawing big lines there, but the contour is still very, very smooth. Like the faces of these are all aligned. It's more like actual grooves. Like these are grooves going down instead of divisions between teeth. The teeth aren't really humped out in any way. With these, it's not quite that way. They're a little bit more not arranged in an attractive way. Got a little bit, it's not really gums, but their lip pulls back at the top and the bottom a little bit. And I promise, I'm not just making them ugly because they're evil. It's just the nature of having such a strangely shaped face when all of your relatives don't. Your body tends, and it's just way too big. Oh my gosh. That's huge. Let me just... Is that sized right? I got the eye sized right at least. There we go. That's how they'd normally be sized. Wow. They usually hold their neck a little bit more upright, just in standing and resting poses. And the neck does kind of attach from the front like this, for all of them. These guys, they've got very stiff plumage. So Nobon's got this super shaggy, not stiff plumage. Aonun's kind of got this medium, kind of like a chicken, you know, pretty normal. This is a bit like a chicken tail, like a rooster tail. So fairly stiff, but it's pretty flexible. These guys, their feathers are very stiff, like some sort of pheasant. And so they're very, that reflects their behavior, I'll just say that. They are culturally administrative. That's just kind of the way their culture works. They tend to be they like to have positions of power. Not because they're cruel necessarily, but just because they culturally believe that they're good at it. And a lot of them are. Because their culture kind of trains them for it. So, totally fine. Except for the fact that some certain members of their clan have taken advantage of that a little bit, and now we're in this place where the rest of the pike are like slaves to the Empire, to these guys, which are, drumroll please, I can draw D. Why is D so hard to write? They are the Dagon. I've said that already, but let's make it a official sounding announcement. These are the Dagon. They're taller, a little bit more elegant in shape. Still can't fly. They've got more of a kind of traditional birdish tail. Though they do have a skin section right here with scales. Kind of a hybrid mishmash sort of thing. Yeah, pretty much a normal bird. They've got the body feathers that kind of curl back. So they don't have all this fluff here like the others do. Their body feathers are very tight to the body. Including the feathers around their legs, which makes their legs look a little weird because most birds, they've got these very fluffy body feathers that kind of fill out their anatomy. If you look at a bird, you'd never be able to tell that their knee, like they're constantly Asian squatting. Birds are like that, kind of. And a featherless bird, you can see that, like a stripped chicken or something, rotisserie chicken. You can already tell that. But living birds. They've got all that body feathers, and often their knees are kind of buried inside the skin in a way that you can't really see it, like these guys. Like, this leg is too far forward. That's what the problem is. Both of these limbs are too far backwards. I mean, you can see it here, like his hip is right here, and this is his thigh. Let's make that white so it's clearer. His hip is right here, and this is his thigh, and his knee. That is his chin, and this is his tarsals and his toes and stuff, which is how all birds work. So it's the same for him, except his leg's a little weird. I can go back and fix that later. Just need to make the knee lower. Let's just say it goes like that for now. And so for these guys, it's the same. Whoop, that's not the right color. They're a little more squatty, I guess. Their hip attaches lower, more like a normal bird, as opposed to like a ratite that has a much higher hip attachment. But in many ways, the Dagon are more like normal birds, or beakless, or sorry, toothless birds, modern birds, whatever you want to call them. Now their mane is a point of contention for me, because I have a lot of different ideas for how their mane could look, and all of them I like, but I have to choose one. And I guess we could look at that on stream, if that would be cool. So let's take a look. So for their mane, I have a lot of different options. They used to be this strict sticky epi one right there. Then it goes straight back after that and wrap perfectly down like that. Connect up with the jaw. And there's these perfectly spaced feathers all along it, with these perfectly placed patterns and all that stuff. Like a headdress. Like it's barely even real biological feathers. They use so much genetic manipulation on themselves to make them look perfect. And I like the idea. Like the concept is not bad. But I want them to be maybe, I don't know. There's a battle within me. Sometimes I want things to be super wacky and wild in every way, and other times I want them to be more grounded. And I often can't really decide which of those battles to win. I think usually it's best to go for the wackier, unless you need to not be wacky, but who needs to not be wacky? That's pretty dumb. We're coming up at just survived an hour, so I'm gonna finish this. We'll take inventory. I'll take a quick break, and then we shall continue. And hopefully this is working, because it did just start raining, which is not good for me. So I might have to end a little early, if you guys can even still hear me. So we'll see. We'll see. I think for now I'm just gonna go with kind of a spiky kind of look. Maybe some of them are more manicured than this guy is, but very bristly. So this brush, I have it shifting the hue and saturation per stroke, but I also have to turn on value per stroke if I'm ever doing grayscale, because these guys are grayscale. Because otherwise, if you don't do that, nothing changes, because changing the hue and saturation of gray doesn't really do anything, because it's already 0. And you'd think it'd make it more saturated, but usually that's not the case. So we're going to do slightly saturated, kind of brownish gray here. And there's a little bit of variance to how that looks, of course. It's a little patchy, but that's fine. So these guys are usually pretty grayscale as far as body feathers go. And surely they bleach and do all these things to make their body even more grayscale. There's nothing wrong with that, of course, but it is an artifact of a fairly stuck-up and prideful culture for them. I'm sure more natural members of their group would opt to not really do all that, but maybe not. Maybe that's just the thing that they do. You never really know. So they have this weird coloration that is kind of... It's similar to the others with the fade, except it's a fade to black along the back and chest here and back of the neck and everything. Corner of this jaw here. I guess I'll do one more layer of the black just along here. Just really lay it on there. But they have this nearly white section. So up in the front here, and on the front of their jaw, it's this kind of nearly white coloration. And I guess on their belly too, it kind of extends down on their under feathers and everything. And they've got, I don't know, like a snowy owl. You've probably seen a snowy owl before, right? It's easier to just tell you what a snowy owl, or what it's supposed to look like. So they've got these, each individual body feather has a little spot of white on it. Or, sorry, black. And so it kind of, as it goes down here, it gets a little bit less common until it's just every odd feather has that. And then on the legs, a little bit of it as well. So that's their body pattern. Nice and gray. Their feathers are also usually pretty grayscale, but they tend towards, for this one, I'll do a saturated one, tend towards kind of a tannish, orangey color. This is just straight up skin. So I did the wrong color here, but oh, I didn't give him fingers. I'll have to remedy that. But that's their decorative plumage, so their tail and arm and mane, which to them is like their hair. All of those combined is kind of their hair. I'll go ahead and give that a nice sharp shape as before. I think, like I said, I think that color's a little off. It needs to be a little bit more saturated. A little bit more salmon. Hard to get that with this, because it's either, there we go, that is exactly what I was looking for. So almost like the Alnoon, except much more pinkish orangey, not quite as dark, but it contrasts with their body feathers quite well, but it actually blends with their facial feathers, which I will, or skin, which I will show you in just a moment. So their skin is usually quite a concentrated, saturated orange color. It's a little dark. Yeah, there you go. If you couldn't tell, I do take a large amount of inspiration for these guys' color palette from the secretary bird. It's a really cool bird that looks a lot like these guys, just in their body shape. So I thought, you know what? Let's be shameless and just steal from nature. Because, you know what? God came up with some pretty freaking cool stuff. It's cool to copy that from time to time. Take inspiration. Honor thine creator and all that. I'm gonna be wild. I'm gonna pre-color the digits and just draw them in later. So now I gotta draw the digits, which shouldn't be difficult. There we go. See that? Super easy. Gotta love it. Whoops. Let's just finish these. So that's the Dagon. And you know what? They're not done yet, because I didn't color his eye. I didn't color their eyes either. All of them have golden eyes. That's just... Oh, I forgot to add that on another layer. They've all got golden eyes, though. That's just kind of the standard for the species. No innovation there. Eye color is not part of their traits that change between members. So that's pretty normal. Their teeth, the Dagon's teeth tend to be a little darker. Just the keratinization tends to be a little bit more concentrated on them. And then, therefore, the melanization of that keratin. I need to turn off this, Oh, you're really messing with me here. There we go. But because the keratinization is a little bit more extreme, so is the melanize. What is going on here? Come on. That is not the color I picked. There we go. Look at that. Hallelujah. So their teeth are kind of a base. I guess I didn't do it right. At the base, quite a bit darker. And then they just get even darker and darker towards the tips. And the interiors and edges and all that. So they get to nearly black. Oh, that's a little too blue. That's very, very green. There we go. Nearly black. Like that. And then just straight up black. Almost. There you go. And their teeth they're pretty shiny. So let's there we go. That's much more accurate. There we have it. The 3 clans of Pike, arranged by height and political power. I'm very pleased with this hand over here. I think that looks very good, and I'm going to use that in my reference sheet because that's perfect. So, beautiful. We are going to take a quick water break. I'll be right back, and we will assess my connection situation to see if we can still play a little bit. Alright. We are now going to try to play Noita. Which Alright, let's see if I can add a source for Noita. Game capture. Now let me see if this works. Wrong side. It's showing black. So, let's try again. Okay, let's try it one more time. Still showing black. Why is it showing black? Bear with me. I must do a little troubleshooting now. There we go. Alright. Let's try one more time. There we go. Perfect. Okay. So this is Noita. It is my favorite game of all time. Second only to Shadow of the Colossus, which is also my favorite game of all time. I love them both quite well. I realize my mic is facing towards my art desk right now, so you probably couldn't hear me very well. We're going to play this for a little bit. Our stream's going on an hour and a half, so I'll play it for another 30 to 45 minutes. I technically have a God run running right now, but I'm so bored with it that we're just going to start a new run right now. And y'all will get to learn. So, Noita. This is the game. It is a roguelike. Start at the top of this cave. And you slowly make your way down. Click to fire in any direction. You start with a random firing spell and then another random bomb. Which I'm not going to fire because I only have 3 of them. And then a random potion, which this time it's polymorphine, which kind of sucks. Makes it so I can transform into things that kind of stink, but sometimes it can save your life. Because you can polymorph certain bosses into harmless things, or certain harmless things into bosses, so it's usually not the greatest thing to use. This skin is custom. I have the only mod I have installed right now is this skin mod. Just let me make a custom Mina. You normally are purple. This game is brutally difficult. Let's just douse myself with polymorph. Brutally difficult. Oh, there's gold in there. You want to collect a bunch of money so that you can... Please give me some water somewhere. There we go. Buy better stuff as you go along. Between each biome, there's a holy mountain, which is just a place to rest and edit your wands and stuff. And so, this game, you see the wands, they've got stats, cast delay, and all that stuff. And they've got slots, and it executes the slots in order throughout the wand. So once you get wands with 16, 20 slots, and a bunch of cool unique spells, you can do some really wild stuff with it. So that's gonna be my goal today. I want to show y'all those kind of cool spells. I will be emptying my polymorphine, unfortunately. I cannot bear the risk of having it. Hopefully, nobody blows up this little trough. Because that would suck. A stray polymorphine is quite terrible. Is it doubling? Oh, I think it's doubling the audio. Hold on. There we go. Yeah, I was playing the audio from the desktop and the not desktop. The game itself. This is a trap. This green stuff, toxic sludge, poisons me, but it turns into water when it interacts with water. So I can make a bunch of free water with it. Just super nice. But if I touch this wand, this electric trap will spring, so I actually have to blow it up first. I'll slow it all dramatically, but now I have access to this really garbage wand. The spells can be nice sometimes. Because you can put another spell inside of it, so when you throw the egg, it explodes or something. But this wand sucks. 1 egg per second. The eggs themselves don't actually do damage. You see that number on them. That's just how much damage the egg took through physics to crack. That has nothing to do with the damage the egg is doing. These are hummies. I think they're supposed to be spiders. I don't know. This is a Finnish game, naturally, so if any Finnish people are watching, I apologize for my pronunciation. I don't actually know what hummus means, but they're pretty cute. This is actually a little mini game thing. So it's this trough right here. I need to get the water from that trough, or any source of material that is in that trough into that little metal cup down below it. Oh, cool. This egg's cool. If I throw it, I get my own little hummies. Oh, and I got wings. Sweet. But that trough puzzle, I think it's the one that gives you a treasure chest. But let me experiment. I think I can just pour water from here, so that way I don't have to mess with a bunch of fire. We shall see about that. Yeah, we can. Okay, so this is one of the ones that gives us a chest. Rule number 1 of Noita: never open a chest underwater, because they can spawn electrical things that kill you very fast. And the chance is not very low. So that got me kind of crap. Gunpowder pouch. I can use it to dig, but it also does a lot of damage to me if I miss. So it could be valuable for now, though. You want to kind of clear out any explosives that you see so you don't accidentally die to them. There we go. So the first biome is really small in comparison to the others. Look at that, we got a spell shop. So here we can buy. All these spells are not really what I want right now, but we can buy spells to use later, which is very, very helpful. And those just kind of appear randomly. We won't go down there yet. Those things do so much damage. So that purple portal, I'm not going to go in it right now. That's the Holy Mountain, which is just the safe spot. So I do not need it yet. Once you go in the Holy Mountain, you can't come back up. So you want to explore as much as you can safely here. I want to see maybe get another spell shot or some better wands. Ha! That is certainly a better one. Chest in there. Perfect. Oh, rolled away. Yeah, but it's on a terrible wand. Wait, empty potion. Take that. Alright, I am very low health. I have a single hit worth of health, so I will be leaving now. Really hoping to find some extra health, but not so. So this recovers my health. I will not be getting that yet. Okay, we got some pretty awesome stuff in here. So these are spells I can buy. It switches between, just randomly, it'll be a spell shop or a wand shop. Ooh, these perks are good too. Okay, extra health. That's kind of what I want. This, it's amazing to be immune to explosive damage, but the exploding corpses themselves are really annoying. So I don't really know what I want. We'll be buying all of these though. I don't know. That too. So now, take everything off these wands. This one kind of sucks too, honestly, but I can make it a little better. The orient spells does make a difference. See, like this is slightly faster than this. Just because each spell interacts with the recharge and everything in different ways. I'll explain that at some other point. But when you have a multicast like that, sometimes you can make it go way faster for some reason. And then you can do that. Because this, what this does, is it reduces cast delay and recharge time. But since it's only applying to these two that are within this, because it's wrapping around to the next spells available, it doesn't apply to this. So I get a recharge boost without making my spitter bolt go in a random direction, which is super nice. I guess I'll go ahead. Ah, no, that costs too much. Way too much to fire. So now I've got teleportation, firing, and also digging, because the chainsaw does a bit of digging. See? So that's great. It's really great for me. I guess I'll go ahead and put the bombs on one wand as well and store it away later. With teleportation, which is really nice to have so early, I can... I don't know, I think I might reroll. Okay. This is a very unfortunate reroll. I could do it again, but I think I just need to play with that. This, I can escape the Holy Mountain without collapsing it. So now I can go back in and still edit my wands and everything. This place is a huge jump up in treacherousness from the previous biome. And you gotta really watch your feet here. But there's a lot of loot to be had as well, so it's worth exploring. Like this. So this wand stinks. It's really bad. But it has a lot of spots, so I might keep it just for storage. This spell is not bad, it just doesn't shoot it very fast. A little short range. Sets things on fire, which is a little annoying. So that perk I got. Oops. Perk I got slime blood. It makes it so when I take damage I would get slimy, but normally slime slows you down. But since I have that perk, it doesn't anymore, which is really nice. So those enemies are a little bit less annoying now. I do want to try and get to the left as much as I can. So there's some good stuff. This, when it's big beams like this, that means it's a wand. If it's not big beams, that means it is an item. Let's hope that'll get me through. Please. No. Okay, whatever. Use another bomb. That's fine. So I want to check all the wands here. Really? I have to use another one. That's fine. okay. So this is very good for me. This wand itself isn't great, but there's a critical hit on enemies that are on fire, and it's really fast for what it is. So I'm gonna go back and edit this. Let's see where it came from. I did not come from here. Oops. Come on. That's a little janky. That's right. Toxic gas up there. There we go. So, arrows, they suck. They're not useful. But, I think if I set it like this, it's casting them all at once. Yeah, that's so much better. I guess I can go ahead and add that too. But then if I put this on here, since it says shuffle here, it applies to everything. So, not as useful. I think I want to keep this wand for now, so I will put the teleportation in that. Go ahead and drop both of those. And back out we go. Look how powerful we are. Chainsaw doesn't do a whole lot for range damage, but each of those little flashes does melee damage, or slice damage specifically, which does a ton to everything. Obviously, I don't want to get close to those because they do a lot of most other things. If I can jump on top of them and shoot them first, then it's gravy. Run's going pretty good so far. Now I'm gonna test my luck and go to the left here. So area over here, all the way to the left. Called the Fungal Caverns. It's very different from the coal pits, which is where I am now. Health, which is freaking awesome. So that doesn't heal me, but it expands my health bar, so I've got a lot more health. Gained 25. There's a one. Not the greatest, but it'll work for me. This is a pretty good spell to have early on. Because it automatically hones. I think they shoot down multiple enemies at once. Great. Those ghosts don't do damage, they just kind of float on you. Get in your way. I think those ones, the aura around them is increased gravity. Oh, gold, 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 gold. Okay, mushroom valleys explode. I'll stay away from them. These idiots make me blind, so I'll stay away from them. If you couldn't tell, the Fungal Caverns is a massive uptick in damage and danger just immediately. That is a spell that I really want. The chain spell is really nice to have in the Fungal Caverns, so I'll keep it for now, but I will swap these two later. This is kind of a dead one. It's big. Very good. It's very efficient. Oh yeah. This place is scary. But it's usually like it. those things suck so much. Ah! These things suck even more. Oh, thank you, little guy. That saved my life. Find a couple more wands to purvey. There's usually a good amount of them here. I got teleported. I don't really know how to get back from here, but... Oh, there it is. Oh gosh, it's a lot. Oh no. So this stuff, it can be very useful if you're the one using it, but otherwise it sucks very badly to interact with. Because it teleports you in whichever direction you're facing. Oh crap. Okay. Awesome. It's invisible. Kill this wasp nest. They spawn more when you are visible, so I want to get it dealt with right away. Whoops. There's a lot of things going on in this game at all times. If you couldn't tell, each pixel is a simulated particle. So it can be a little nerve-wracking sometimes because the simulation is not perfect whatsoever. It will just randomly freak out all the time. Do things that you were never told the game to do. But it's usually reliable enough. I won't stay away from that. So I'm gonna shoot it. That thing is scary. Just a random thing happens every time you do it. I'm not gonna do the same thing twice, but really want to control. This is not good for me. This might be the end. Pick up what you're going to. Alright, I need to get out of here. I am a single hit away. I see you. Should have been using this one. Ooh, a wand. Whoa! That's really good. Better than that. Ah! This guy. Okay. Crisis averted. One, right. Awesome. That spell I really wanted. Start with that guy. The next one. I think I need to go to a different one. Message received. I don't want to catch on fire or get in lava because that would kill me very, very fast. Oh, let's stay away from it. 28 damage per shot is not going to play well with my low HP. Okay. We're safe. I was able to get 2 hearts, so 170. You gain an extra 10 every time you take one of those. And looks like we're getting not the best spells. I like that, but not that. This is actually pretty good, except for the fact that it shuffles. We'll see, we'll see. I have a lot of money, so I can... Oh, this is so tough. This explosion area, which is just one of the best perks in the entire game. But this one's also really good. This one sucks. No one likes this. Permanent shield. It deflects 2 out of every 3 projectiles that hit me, and then it breaks and has to cool down for about 2 seconds. But that's awesome. in certain areas of this game where you're being barraged at all times. This saves me from the damage from a lot of those barrages of projectiles. So it's an incredibly difficult choice. The combo with this and this, because I think it's a 25% projectile resistance for this perk. It doesn't show it, but it is. Would be great, because then I only take 75% damage from 1 in 3 shot. I'm gonna take this one. Yeah, I think it's a good choice. Okay, so now I gotta tinker. But first, I'm actually going to purchase some wands. I want this for the spells, really. I want this. Well, I want this for the spells. I don't want it for the wand. I'm gonna take 1 dynamite. I'm gonna take all these. I want this one. It's got 2 more chainsaws on it. Which is, oh, it's also got that, which is awesome. This one, it's really fast. Yeah. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna set up a digging wand with this one. It's gonna be much more efficient at digging through material, killing the fish. And then we're going to do something else. Got a digging wand. I want to edit this. There we go, that works much better. It's a much more straight line. I'm gonna put an extra dig on that. This spell is a little scary. So that is both explosion and fire damage. And it's friendly fire, so I want to be really careful with that. So I probably shouldn't put it on a bouncy spell, seeing as, yeah, I don't want to put it on a bouncy spell. Let's see if this works. Hold on. It does. I can get double shields when I'm holding this. So for this one, it adds an extra 10 mana to every cast. So this, instead of casting 1, casts 11. 11, 11. Which is a lot. But that should be fine. I want to try this guy. So this doesn't fire quite as fast. It takes a lot more energy. But it does a lot more damage. Oh, no, it's about the same actually with the fire rate. This is 3 at a time though, which is kind of nice. This one essentially does a lot less damage than both, but it has a higher critical hit chance, which these statues don't show. So, I don't know. Let's see. If I had a triple hit, that could be kind of nice. I can see if I can double these up actually. That's more of a machine gun sort of thing. I don't really lose a whole lot. Oh, I do actually. Apparently having 1 more chainsaw in here. I don't understand how that works, but I'm just gonna go with it. I think this will help me too, because it makes the teleport go in a straighter line. I think it also makes it go further for a cast. Whoops. Which, could be a little annoying. But we'll see. Okay, so I've got... Oh, I didn't even realize this wand had so much mana. Switch all this to here. Get rid of you. I think I might want the shield on this, actually. Ah! Way too much. I should not be multicasting. Oh, this is a... No, wait, that should cast 2, though. Oh, it's just... It fires so fast that it casts 2. Okay. Well, I will just not do that then. I do think having the shield on this is a little more helpful, though. Alright, so that's my setup. Got this. Wait, that's not the right one. This just for the range. I like to be able to shoot enemies from far away. This does a little more concentrated damage, but it's really close range. This is the longest range and it does the least damage. It also costs less mana, though. The least mana. Let me... Okay, yeah, no. I don't think that would work. This is a shuffler, so I can't really do that. I do it like that. Okay. Still not great, but... Okay, yeah, that's just kind of weird. What am I gonna get rid of? I think... Put that there, get rid of these bombs. Probably not worth putting that on. 10 mana's a lot. Get all my modifiers sorted. Promise we'll get back to the more interesting gameplay. Blah, blah, blah. Get all my stuff sorted. I don't want this anymore. Okay. I think that works for me. So, firing wand. Oh, wait, hold on. That's much nicer. Teleport and digging. That's a good mix. That's a really good mix. Okay. So this time I'm not gonna escape the mountain. Actually, I am, because I want to edit things. Normally, you're not supposed to do that, but if you get a teleport early, you can cheat. So the game climbs in difficulty very fast. Couldn't tell. By touching that vapor, I take a lot of damage, so I don't want to. This is where the shield comes in, because these things suck. Shots from them. The biggest problem, though, is that they spawn in groups. That's awesome. This one also does a good amount of terrain damage, but it actually does better when you get to the next holy mountain, and then call it quits for today. That is a fantastic one. It's not that fantastic, but it's got good recharge. I guess I can show you what the pollen does now, too. So the pollen is multi-purpose. It digs, which is really nice. Oh, yeah, that's convenient. But it also hones on things. It also requires movement projectiles. In a situation like this, I'm bombarded in all directions, and I'm very glad I got a shield. I'm taking a lot of damage without it. Well, granted, I wouldn't take any damage if I had explosion immunity, but I think those also do some projectile damage, so I wouldn't have been immune. Yeah, those little goblin guys, you see, spawn in groups. What are any of those? They suck. Really bad. So the game, if I punch them at once, I'll all be shooting all different things at you. Shoot bombs and also punch me. It's not good. See how much damage I took just right there. So I probably want to leave immediately, unfortunately. Don't have time to explore, really. Take a look at this. Ooh, I am very glad I took a look at this. It's not really useful. This is concentrated mana. material that when I drink it, it increases my mana, so I'm not really running out here. Also, it turns water into more concentrated mana. So in certain places, and it also dissolves in metal. So there's some places in the map that have a lot of metal and robots and stuff that fill it with water and then turn it all to mana. You can completely clear out the area for free. Oh, a little fishy. This place is so dangerous. If you just drop down, you're pretty much dead. You never know what's down there. But then walking side to side, you get slightly more range of view going side to side. Floats on it. Kind of annoying. Because now this blood's making a layer. But it's pretty cool. That's what it does. And now, actually, I didn't drink it. If I drink it, I get a stain of it on my body. Then I will have increased mana. Weapons. Let's go. Money, money, money. Alright, so we're gonna get this next holy mountain. Concentrated mana does not put out fires the same way. It does most other things water does, but it doesn't put out fires or convert toxic sludge. Be careful with it. Okay. I've got fire immunity. That is very good. Oh, look at that. Okay, so I've got homing. That, I can't really figure out what that one does. Limited drill. And freezing gaze, which I'll just show you what it does. Oh well, that also doubled me. Casts this freezing ray that, if you couldn't tell, freezes things. Homing, I definitely want that. I think I'll take the black hole, even though black hole with that trigger kind of sucks. So. Tune in next week to figure out how we escape the Holy Mountain. Alright. Much thanks for tuning in. Yes. That is it for Noita. Let me just save and quit this file. And we're done. Thanks so much for tuning in, everyone. I will try to... I want to try and stream again this week as well. Maybe even twice. I'll do my best. But at the very least, I'll be on again next week. And we'll probably catch up on Smaugust again. And then maybe play a little more Noita or a different game. It could be anything. We've got some fun collaborations actually coming up. We found some other artists that wanted to participate in fun little games. So those will be coming up on Instagram. And I will be doing my best to also post them on YouTube as well. I'll be